All
right,
we're
we're gonna get going here.
Yeah, it's fun. Once you kind of get settled in, you're gonna start us off. And
Let's
then
party.
we'll do our announcements at the end. So
Did you go to the office across this over there?
Yeah, like or like down, it was on,
A Keystone?
it was on, say somewhere south of 106th Street. I don't know where it was the meeting. But it had me get on, I was following the detours. I was like, all right. And the next thing I know, I'm driving back down 465 all the way to Keystone. It was cool.
What are you?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ready to crush this?
You take a breath?
If anything, we'll just be coming in with a little bit more spontaneous energy. Maybe.
That's good, don't worry about it.
This is your water as well.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I mean,
You wanna go ahead and
we're gonna get started because just
say wakey wake?
yeah, we have our national concert going on, so people kind of hanging out watching that.
Cool.
And that's
So we're just making the switch over.
It's Thibodeau, right?
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. All right, everybody, we are gonna get started. I know it's kind of been an action-packed day with Mega Camp, so we'll start with a few ahas or takeaways from anyone who's been tuned in. What's going on in San Antonio this week?
Not everybody at once.
Leverage. Yeah, ever heard that one before? Yeah. Okay, tell me more.
Oh, well, I mean, a lot of it's back to the basics.
Uh-huh.
So. Prospecting every day and following up on your leads.
Okay, let's do one more.
Systems equals freedom.
Oh, say more.
So if you can get your system set up, you can have more freedom with who are comfortable wanting to in a person more professional.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I mean, systems are super important and we have resources here to help you refine those, including with lender partners. So excellent. So yeah, I'm going to now turn it over to Mike from Invest Hamilton County. If you were here last year, I thought he was one of our best speakers of the year. And so we had him on the books for today for a long time and felt like we just wanted to honor that commitment to him. So appreciate your flexibility on the start time. And he's going to talk for about 45 minutes. And then I'll wrap this up with our announcements and kind of our usual administrative stuff. So take it away.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You guys were my third favorite crowd last year. So I'm just being serious. I don't know, but the answer is probably keep asking hard questions. I'll be honest. No, really though, like you guys were a great group to speak to last year. I always love engaging with realtors because I find that, data being my love language, a lot of you guys, when you're building systems and you're thinking how you think, you're also kind of running through that same data driven mindset as well as kind of having a people oriented mindset. I'd love to say that like one of my superpowers is turning data into stories and into action. And so I love these conversations. My theme this year for myself was discipline equals freedom. And then I built that freedom and then unfortunately used it to develop way too many things that then took away all my business. Like it's a vicious circle of, oh, I have more opportunity now. Let's then build that. And then all of a sudden I find myself in that same chaos again. So first off, this is for you guys. So it's supposed to be what you want. The slides are fine to be sent to you after. I always, for groups like this, give you just a billion slides with a bunch of charts and nonsense on it that you can use however you want in your life. But we're not going to necessarily look at every number on the screen and like dig into every single little piece of it. But I'm always happy to dig deeper anytime you guys want to say, hey, let's raise the hand, press pause, and really dive in. Because there's a lot going on right now. It's an interesting time, I think, to be you. It's an interesting time to just be a person in general. And I think those two things are directly coincided. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of what it looks like at the local level. We'll talk about some of the macroeconomics behind probably how some of your people are feeling as you're interacting with them, and talk a little bit about where the county's going and some of our chief priorities as an organization and from the economic development space. Does that sound cool? All right. We can go ahead and keep rolling. So You know, Invest Hamilton County, we're the county's economic development corporation. We really have a couple primary goals here that we look to achieve. The first is to attract and direct funding. We apply for lots of federal grants. We help a lot of organizations work together who maybe otherwise wouldn't. We pool resources together, develop matches, and find ways to direct more money out to local school districts, to local cities, to local businesses, you name it. We really try to figure out ways to do that. The second thing we do is we lead in research and data at a countywide level, supporting all of our cities' economic development priorities, and then also supporting businesses and business groups. We really look to turn those insights into action and have some really good forward-thinking research. Our primary bread and butter from a programming perspective is workforce development. So we help businesses find the people that they need, and we help people find the opportunities that are ahead of them. And we develop a lot of systems and resources and training programs to help do that. And then finally is just building out that community strategy on certain key issues like childcare, housing, broadband, you name it. We're kind of involved in some way in various roles in a few of those different spaces. If we go forward now. So this is when we're going to talk about kind of what happens in this community over the course of the next 5 years. You can keep going. So right now, when we think about where we're at today and where we need to go to meet just even the present growth trajectory and retirement waves that are coming to us, we have to find basically 59,000 new employed people to fill open roles by 2030. Some of that comes from retirements, some of it comes from economic growth. And I will also say most of that economic growth projection is just the organic growth that's naturally happening, driven by the market within the community. That does not include attracting new headquarters or attracting new investments and the other work that our cities are really driving. So likely this number is low, if anything. We're already a growing community. And for you guys, I think one of the big reasons that matters is when you think about those jobs equal opportunities for you to be relocating people. You know, for every new Toyota North American headquarters that comes in, that means there's people moving here to likely fill those jobs. But we're also going to continue to see remote work being a big part of our workforce demographics as well. You can go forward. So when we look at what's going on, I mean, you guys are probably aware, you know, the silver tsunami is coming. It is a lot of workers in this community who are going to be retiring over the next couple of years. It will be a lot of people who are also choosing to age in place. If you keep moving forward. For us, that makes it even more important that we think of our workforce and our local labor market as a regional exchange. So right now, 110,000 people up here commuting out of Hamilton County every day to another community, mostly Indianapolis, in order to work. We have 98,000 who are commuting into the county in order to fill local jobs. Now, the difference there that's important to also factor in, this number, this 110 up here, includes 39,000 remote workers who may not necessarily be commuting, but who work for an out-of-county employer. So what does that mean when we think about what this place looks like on a day-to-day basis? It means we're bigger during the day than we are at night. Because 110 minus 39 is smaller than 98. We're officially bringing in more bodies on a daily basis than we are sending out. That means this is not a bedroom community at all, really, anymore. Carmel's been there for a while, but countywide level, the bodies just aren't flowing in the way that they used to even pre-pandemic. And our rate of remote workers continues to increase year over year. You can keep going. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the broader economic forces and some things we're seeing if we keep going. So overall, right now, not a lot of signs pointing to significant recession risk. We're seeing a fairly stable economy. Now, how much that attributes down to your individual buyers is kind of a mixed bag. You can keep going to the next slide. And part of what we're seeing here to back up that recession dynamic, locally speaking, we're in a much better shape from a jobs market standpoint than the Indianapolis Metro, which is the light blue line, or than the national economy, which is the dark blue line is the unemployment in Hamilton County. The top line is the unemployment in the United States. The middle is the Indianapolis Metro. You can see the county and the metro mirror each other, but it's lower. And while unemployment nationally is going up, ours is still going down. And we're trending significantly lower than the United States as a whole. So if you think about what a 2.7% unemployment rate looks like locally, that means there's just not bodies just floating around out there getting jobs. They're looking for jobs, which makes our local labor market a lot tighter. It means we have to bring in a lot more people from outside of the community to fill open roles. But how people feel about the job they have is driven in a good part by the national rhetoric around unemployment and jobs. If we keep moving forward, at each different thing, we kind of have a couple different areas where we're seeing some potential for relief. We know Hamilton County is going to be a growing community. The growth is not projected to slow down or stop. It may change where in the county people are going, depending on some of the socioeconomic demographics and the big picture things at play. But overall, we're going to build houses. We're going to fill them. We're going to sell houses. And overall, they will eventually get sold, and we will continue to grow. The metro continues to outperform the national economy, which is a really solid baseline for how we continue to perform. So the largest employer of Hamilton County residents, Eli Lilly, just as an example. Lilly goes away, or Lilly doesn't do well, or stops hiring, that hurts us as a community because those people that work there live here in many cases. But farm is doing pretty well. Overall, them and their suppliers and the diverse industries that we have one of the largest industry concentrations of that type of work, it's continuing to grow. Business services, many of our small business establishments continue to do well. We're going to continue to see people coming here and establishing businesses and doing okay from that perspective too, is what our short-term projection is. Go forward. So here's some of the things that we will say is on kind of more that negative side. Here's the things that could shift stuff a little bit. On one end, if I was talking to you guys in 2022, like every person you'd be talking to would feel like, one, for them as an individual, there's opportunity abounding ahead of them. Two, if they were a business owner, they'd be like, good God, I can't find people at anywhere. Job postings at that time, 42% higher on a daily basis than they are today in 2022. So that's a massive difference in what we look at from a volume standpoint. And overall, hiring sentiment is negative, meaning businesses don't really feel good about the prospect of future growth and hiring, but also people don't feel good about the prospects of getting future jobs. Now, it's important to point out here, sentiment versus reality are in this current state in two different environments. But for you guys, and as I engage with realtors, I find the sentiment matters more than the reality. If somebody's coming to you and they're saying, I don't really know, I'm kind of thinking about moving, but I don't really know if that was the right time. You're telling them, oh, well, how you feel doesn't really matter, but the data says you're fine. Ain't gonna really work out. So we're gonna talk a lot about feelings today. So we go forward to the next thing. How it feels and how it is. We'll dive into it. Let's go. So people feel worse right now than they have at any point on record. Since these sentiment statistics have began being collected, people feel worse in this moment than they ever have. Now, household income doesn't really back that up. Unemployment, again, doesn't really back that up. Labor force participation rate doesn't back that up. Household worth, those things not necessarily backed up by the feeling, but the feeling says motion. So let's go forward to the next slide. Some of that does come down to, and I apologize, I'll resend the slides because these are supposed to have like actual words next to them saying what these mean. So just a note, Doug, I'll resend these and try to fix that. This is inflationary costs, and this is supposed to be like housing, groceries, and a couple other things showing that they've gone up. And the reality is how costs are going up. If we go to the next slide, we can see, in general, people are stopping moving, but also they're stopping moving even from a job standpoint. So monthly quits, which is what we measure, is at a lower rate now than it was in 2019, which was the previous low. So we have kind of less people moving between jobs, and we have also less people moving, therefore, also between homes. Those things are connected in some way. Go ahead and move forward. So I put here just some statistics, the county data showing some things, but also where people kind of are talking about. We move forward to the next slide. We can talk about some of the buyer sentiments. So, man, that's too bad. So this is saying is of people who live in Hamilton County, most are not from here, meaning Indiana. If you look particularly at college graduates, so our people with bachelor's degree or higher education who live in the community, which is 63% of our adult population, 53% of those people were not born in Indiana. And 51% of them didn't go to college in Indiana. So it's not like they came to IU or Purdue and then decided, oh, I'm going to make Indiana home. Nope, that's only 2% of that number. The other 51 are people who were not born in and did not go to college in the state of Indiana. And they choose to live in Hamilton County. Now, I point this out because this is a rhetoric that's drastically different from any other location and geography in which you work. People here are choosing to live here in many cases when they can choose to live anywhere. And our employers who are looking for those college educated workers are recruiting for those roles on a national scale, not just in Indiana or within the metropolitan area. So the way I like to frame that, a lot of people talk about, oh, we need to retain our local high school grads. Like that's really important. Yes, like it kind of is. It's good. You want your kids to live, near you where they grew up. But also at the same time for us, we want to continue to actually macroeconomically be a community that prepares our kids to succeed anywhere in America. And in doing so, have some of the best schools in the nation. It allows us to attract people from anywhere in America. So even if we don't boomerang all those kids back, dying towns have to worry about that because that's their recruitment base. Here, we don't have that situation going on. And so when you're looking at kind of where people are coming from, there are going to be a lot of out-of-state people or people who are born out of state who are going to be part of your market. They may not know the area as well. They're going to be looking for connections. They're going to be looking for social opportunities to engage. They're going to be looking for places where they can make this really feel like home. And I think that's an area where you can differentiate yourself is by being a person who knows, hey, I need to start building up a list of local things to do, places to go out, things that meet these family dynamics we're recruiting into this household, and thinking about how you as a system develop those kinds of relationships and referrals. Go ahead. So, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan. There is a pretty concentrated number from a raw standpoint of people who do come from the Midwest to move here. There's still also a pretty large amount of people who come from elsewhere, but the majority of that out-of-state volume is coming from these neighboring states. You go ahead and move forward. So let's go next. Again, we're not projecting any decrease in growth when we look at permits, when we look at like the availability of land. It's just where the growth is happening is going to be different. Carmel and Fishers are not going to keep growing in the same percentages that they have over the last decade and a half. But Westville and Noblesville got land aplenty. And the northern part of the community, as much as they may not want to all the time, it is going to grow. And the growth says by percentage that it is. So we can go forward again. Oh, that went backwards, I think. Nope, all right. And this thing's all jacked up. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's keep going forward. And we'll keep going. So I'm going to breeze through most of this because I assume this is the data that like y'all live in every single day, but I was able to pull in some statistics from the Fed, some statistics from a few other places that maybe you don't see all the time. But I'm not going to belabor this point because I feel like if anywhere you guys are inundated with housing data. But we're seeing, housing values continue to rise, gross rents are continuing to rise. One really interesting study, if we go forward to the next slide, we can see that owned stock kind of sits in a broad way. Go forward again. Go forward again. So our four cities right now are operating in slightly different markets. So this is hopefully a helpful breakdown for you, kind of what we're seeing within each space. Rents are continuing to, rental inventory is continuing to increase, but also most of our communities are still seeing some permitting occurring and some growth occurring. If we go forward again,
Can I ask a question real quick? Are apartment units growing faster than their?
it depends. The most of the answer would be no. So the new units that are coming online in many cases have wait lists. And also in many cases are not seeing a high rate of vacancy, but it depends on location. So if you look at anywhere in the walkable Carmel core, for example, those are selling. And even those 20, they are they are occupied. And generally speaking, we do not hear from people who are operating like newer stock rentals that are having a lot of trouble filling those units. A lot of that is because they're being built in these walkable environments that people want to live in. Also, when you look at, so one thing to emphasize, so I'm gonna go on a random side here. So our rents in Hamilton County feel very expensive in general. These new units, they feel like they cost a lot of money. There's 292 counties in America with more than 250,000 residents. Let's call those large counties. Of those, when you compare income versus cost burdenship for renting, only 4 counties in America are doing better than that. So if you're a renter looking to live in a big place with walkable amenities and these types of things, basically there's only 4 places that you're better off in the entire country than you are in Hamilton County. Now, in Indiana, that surprises people when they hear that. They think, oh my gosh, it costs so much more to live in Carmel than it does anywhere else. But you know what? When you compare the quality of what you're receiving and the density that's existing in the place, it's going pretty good and keeping up with incomes. Like, to be clear, I hate that and love it. Like, that's a really hard thing. It's like some rooms I'm in, that's a major victory, and some rooms I'm in, they're like, oh man, I hate that. And so is that a helpful answer to the question? It's just that answer of like, if people live in a big place, 287 places that are like that are more expensive than we are.
So you're saying that people that are coming here to rent are comparing us to maybe like Chicago or Columbus, Ohio, they're not comparing us to Albany, Indiana.
Exactly. Yeah, like we're just not in the peer group of what they're thinking about as far as where they want to live.
Because we need 59,000 employees over the next, until 2030, where we're attracting the people that are gonna fill all these apartment complexes.
I mean, at least for now. And a lot of our,
That's a trend.
that's yeah. And I would also say a lot of people move here to rent before they move here to own in some cases, for a relocation. We also are seeing a lot of the higher end rental inventory being taken up as kind of a downsizing opportunity by people who are either grandparents. We have a lot of grandparents who move here. It's like a pretty huge number.
And they're renting.
Yeah, in many cases they rent. And so, and then people who move out of homes that they've owned for a long time and decide that it makes more sense to rent at this time and that they want to be in a walkable space. Personally, like those are my favorite people in the world because then they free up a single family home that's probably a little bit like older stock, you know, it might be a 70s or 80s or 90s home, and then we get a family in there, which helps our schools and our community in general. I mean, there's just so many empty bedrooms in this community. That's a whole other lecture that we could go on at a whole other random time. We could almost double. I feel like we could double the county's population with empty bedrooms. Sorry, did that?
You mean like empty nesters are hanging onto their house?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a front line, issue that our agents would agree with.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, they get to keep living in a great place. In many cases, their mortgages are, and they're like, sure, maybe their property tax is going up a little bit, and that might be a problem. But that also depends on the generation that they were in when they moved here, because the household income on a new resident, it almost tracks directly with the decades of in-migration. So if you moved here in the 70s, yes, your property tax value going way up, probably a really big deal, because your household income that you had to have pre-retirement and that you had for your whole life, likely owning that house that you paid who knows what for, it's not kept up. But if you've moved here in the last, let's say, decade and a half, you know, it's going pretty okay. And your household income is likely significantly higher the older the population.
Do you anticipate a change and improvement in the older homes? The empty nesters moving out of those with the approval of the ADUs that is supposedly coming? Have you researched that at all?
It's kind of just a really complicated answer. So I would say, so no. Not, so yes, at a individual level. No, on the level of, if you think about how many empty nesters there are by like the dozens of thousands. Like
It's just a drop in the bucket.
like, yeah, like how many thousands of people are gonna build an ADU behind their house, like. Year over year, I don't know. Let's say 40 or something like that. I don't think it's gonna become like such a level of mass adoption to where you're gonna see a statistically relevant margin. That being said, like, this is one of those times where like the microeconomic win is the win. Somebody wants to have an ADU in their backyard. And city says it's okay, then like, all right. You know, honestly, like, I kind of think it's America, you should do what you want with your own land. But does that answer the question? Like, it's not gonna statistically move the.
Yep.
Yeah. The more morbid response is, it will happen because people die, and there's a lot. But like, that's, like, it's all.
No, but
But it's just it's a matter of the numbers. If you think about the fact of how big the boomers are as a generation, those communities who are every community in America is statistically weighted towards boomer and millennial heavy populations because that's how America is made up as a center. If you're not a community that's capable of attracting as that demographic and as that generation fades out of ownership, you're going to be on the losing side and end up having a lot of vacant homes or homes that are in disrepair that you're not able to move into. It's one of the reasons in the long term, that's almost a housing redevelopment strategy. But it's, again, that's a long, that we hope that's long, we hope that's very far away, you know, but it is something we have to keep an eye on from a data perspective, from a community perspective.
what about all these built in that neighborhood? What kind of demographic?
So the numbers are so small that honestly, I don't know. Yeah, like it's just, again, we're talking a couple, units in the hundreds. So at that point, it gets to be, my board might have that information or somebody else, but at my data level, I can't make that statistical projection. All right, well, we can keep going. So let's keep going forward a couple more slides because I want to keep talking with these people. So lock-in effect, yeah, y'all know what that is. Keep going. Household payments is a share of income, locally matched, just so you guys can kind of see where we're at from the median income to make the median mortgage payment today. It's a little lower than now than it was, and these are supposed to be years, not like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. So we'll get that fixed for you guys. And then go forward to the next one. The cheaper end. So again, this will show values of homes. It shows how fast homes at different prices have appreciated over the course of, these are years, not 20 to 60. And we'll be able to see kind of how that, you'll be able to see how those things are interchanged. And if you go forward again, we could see kind of the property value band change. So a realtor I was talking to the other day and a MIBOR rep, they were talking a lot about this. They said, hey, stuff at the top end of the market is selling faster than it used to. Stuff at the bottom of the market is sitting a lot longer than it used to. I wanted to just provide a data-driven response to that question and that sentiment that they were expressing and show that indeed your $1 million and above homes year over year, a lot more sales and transitions occurring. Your under 300K homes, and again, there's less and less of them because houses have appreciated, but still lower volume. But these middle ones are where you kind of see the flip occur because by volume, they're still the majority of the bucket, the vast majority of the bucket. But you're seeing a little bit of a shift into that 600K to 1 mil and away from that 300 to 600K. So I just wanted to express that is true. It's valid. I mean, good God, 2 days ago, I was in a conversation and a guy just casually dropped that like he was buying the house behind his for more than market value so he could put a fence he wanted in. And I'm like, what are we talking about? I'm like, apparently, well, I should give you some realtors' names, I guess. No, I'm joking. But like, there is that sense of that type of buyer in this market right now that is kind of just doing very well and playing around with money, but overall, most people are in a position where they're locked in, and movement is a lot slower. So we go forward again. So this is the same thing, year over year trends, but just it also now this one includes cash buyers. So we were able to take the state gateway and apply it to year over year sales by volume. Go forward again. And we can see just top of the market being insulated from borrowing rates. Go forward again. And we can go forward again. You can see, median income, household income, per capita, families below poverty, like it's all going pretty good from that perspective. I do want to point out that within this county, when we look at households that are at less than 200% of the poverty rate, that's still 40,000 people in our community out of about 400,000. So there are still a lot of individuals who are already living here that may be looking for another opportunity, but are just probably going to be completely locked in. And that's a really interesting thing I just always like to point out, because when you look at percentages or state demographics, a lot of people don't think of Hamilton County as a place maybe that has a lot of poverty existing, but that community by itself in our county would be the 37th largest county in the state of Indiana. It would be as large as DuBois County. And so that's a perspective I like to share, because frankly, I want you to also know that and be able to share it. Because when I go down to the State House and I say, hey, we need help for this food program, or we need help for this program, they go, your Hamilton County, go away. And I literally have to go, well, if the entire population of Jasper was in poverty, would you tell them to go away? Probably not. Our asset limited income constrained and employed, which is called ALICE, which means people who are living paycheck to paycheck and are one adverse life away from basically being taken down as a household. That population here is larger than the entire population of Boone. So just some interesting little nuggets there for you. Go ahead, keep going. So we have here just some breakdowns of industries, who's employing people, what the annual wages are by sector. Finance, insurance, and professional and technical kind of continue to be the top two dogs. We are an insurance hub for country. We have a lot of really big financial headquarters here. We also have a lot of really small businesses that operate here. And an important point to point out that I don't think I included in this is our rate of business establishments. Is it like people building new businesses that have employees is accelerating at a way faster rate than the metro, the state, or the country. Just between 2023 and 2026, we added over 3,500 new businesses with employees on payroll within Hamilton County. That went from about 10,000 to 13,005 within that same time.
What's the predominant sector for that?
So business services is the number one, but also I would say like business services is like one of those like industry codes that's kind of bullshit. It just means anybody who sells things to another business. And so, but that includes your website design firms, that includes lawyers, it includes accountants, so many different things, but it's mostly white collar, either software or business services businesses that are really driving a lot of things. We've also seen a drastic increase in, not included in that number, is sole proprietorships or like LLC formations. Now that number is over 30,000 so a lot of people who are also working for just themselves as sole proprietors. And when we look at bank account, like household wealth being held, the data says those businesses are doing very, very well here. And that it's going pretty good.
So is it predominantly growth that is work from home, or is it having a positive impact on office? Because everybody says office is dead for the state in the future.
So some office is dead for the foreseeable future, I guess is how I would put it. People are still, if you look at Class A locally, it's
Like the mixed use.
yeah, I mean, like again, Carmel City Center, downtown Noblesville, Fishers, mixed use districts, those office locations all go, but the people who move into them are moving out of like these towns. This area is a major redevelopment priority for that exact reason. It's also that like these parking lots don't pay taxes, so they don't help. I mean, they don't help the community. It's just a matter of what it is. Like the community even breaks even on these large office towers with the large parking lots, because there's just so much land that goes towards just those asphalt, landscapes. So this area in particular is gonna be the next major redevelopment, probably cycle for Carmel, once property tax reform and all these other things stabilize. For that reason. But if we look, it's very. And I can't remember all the stats, but because I didn't prepare commercial stuff for this. But when I looked at commercial real estate districts in the county, our industrial does pretty well. Our flex space does pretty well. Most of our business parks, what you would think of as that, are fairly well occupied. People want to have them here, but it's also a different employment demographic than, let's say, Plainfield with those same things. It's a very different type of company. Is that helpful? Yeah. And I would just say, generally speaking, like that's the tale of two cities, kind of approach here is a lot of what we've thought of as the old is going to be in need of redevelopment. The goal for us and all the cities, and I feel very safe saying this, is we want to take, if you think of normally redevelopment occurs as a circular cycle, and when you hit the bottom is when all of a sudden properties get seized by banks and they're cheap, and all of a sudden outside investors go, oh yeah, like cool, I'll buy that office building for a quarter of what it was worth, a decade ago or 2 decades ago. We want to try as a community to really turn that more into like I don't know what it's called, have a flat bottom along the curve. Where once something gets to a certain point, we're really cycling it and incentivizing it to redevelopment prior to it having to hit the bottom. Because that allows us to be more proactive and strategic with how we're redeveloping district areas. It's also a big reason that a lot of those business parks and new places do get developed so aggressively by the cities, is that active desire to not have to get to the bottom of the cycle. Because there is always a legitimate fear that at some point it becomes a race to the bottom, and then you become, like Anderson, or you become a place where that investment doesn't occur in the way that we as a community want to see it happen, but it just gets tripped by.
Give us an example of what's been happening recently.
I think Carmel City Center is a perfect example of that. I mean, if you looked at those areas like just south of Main Street, where there were a bunch of those old warehouses or a bunch of those old business districts, a lot of those they were occupied. They hadn't necessarily hit the bottom. They were still doing fairly well, but they were not operating anywhere close to what they could be with redevelopment from a density, client base, workforce. I mean, any measurable statistic as far as what we're bringing in from an assessed valuation standpoint. And I think there's probably even near Market District where some of that new development has occurred would probably also count. For Westfield and Noblesville, it's a little bit less of a priority, I will say, than it is for Carmel and Fishers, and that's because they got land. They have blank canvases. That doesn't exist in the other two cities that are more developed. They have to think about, okay, if we want to grow, we want to rebuild, it has to be over something that's already existing.
So that tells me you're saying that the developers are paying good money to buy those properties to redevelop.
Oh yeah.
Can that happen without TIF?
Yeah, it happens without TIF all the time. It's just it depends on where it's at. Also, there's a lot of different types of incentives that can come in besides TIF. TIF is the main vehicle, but it just depends. I will say right now, the appetite for this core is actually hurting even Westfield, for example. So Westfield wants to bring in developers to build a bunch of new stuff, and some of their out-of-state developers, and they are, they're building it, but it's a little bit harder for them than maybe it would be otherwise, because some of those same, especially out-of-state developers, are saying, hey, I think if I hold out, this type of building is going to become available way cheaper, and I can pay not pennies, but a quarter on the dollar for my redevelopment costs that I would building new in a new space. But it just depends. Again, it depends a lot on more of what the incentivization looks like is the research and the planning that goes on up front to build an attractive place that allows rents and AV to be high. So if you think about the Grand Park Sports and Entertainment District, if you guys have heard about that, it's Grand Park's big plan for turning that area of Air Grant Park into a large entertainment district. The fact that there will be retail, restaurants, and a lot of other amenities around the space that the city helps attract will make office rents there cost more, which means a developer is probably more likely to go, all right, the math ends, than they would if they're saying, hey, build a tower, out in the woods, that's a strong, but like, does that make sense? Like, it's kind of that idea that like what the city does that pre-planning and the pre-districting, so that way when the developer comes in with a full idea, they can say, hey, we know we're gonna fill these office spaces, we know people are gonna pay really good rents for them, be very stable clients. And that allows us to then have the math make sense. Because it's still so much less to do that here than it is in Chicago or in even like Kansas City or Detroit or many other comparable geographies. So I only got 6 minutes left. So is there anything else y'all want to talk about? You got any questions? Yeah.
I know it's just happened, but can you speak about flooding, economic impact, how the established agencies did in response and anything on that, as far as like current developments?
Yeah, as far as I know, I think this morning, Carmel is on good track to all of our utilities, like our drinking water and our wastewater are in a healthy state for now. I will say a lot of people have done really heroic work during this time locally. All of our mayors and our first responders have been doing a ton. And I'll also say, like, we need to think about how lucky we are. So even in the last round of the COVID dollars, the ARPA dollars that came in, the county invested over 150 million of that into stormwater infrastructure countywide. Now, that mattered a lot, but the rain that happens in Muncie is what causes the flooding here. So we're working with a lot of partners right now. Right now is not the time when we're really thinking about like, what can we do differently moving forward? But it is a time where we're thinking more about just how do we get through these interim periods. In the long term, though, there will be, I think, really big development conversations and things like that. There's also, I think, another great area we'll be looking at, like Federal Commons and that Kroger and all that stuff like that flooded. A lot of that was supposed to flood. It was built to retain floodwater. And so some of this infrastructure is functioning as it was planned for, but overall, the impact on some of these local establishments is just going to be really, really tragic. But it was nowhere near as bad as it could have been, I guess, just because of support thinking.
If that was supposed to flood, why on earth did they build that apartment? It's like, yeah, how would they build that in the area that was supposed to?
Well, so we could, the apartment building wasn't supposed to flood, but the apartment building is also raised above a garage. So that way, theoretically, it was much more insulated. The garage would flood long before the apartment building ever did. The reason that those apartments had to get evacuated was not because of damages to the apartments themselves, but because of utility infrastructure like electricity and wastewater having a little bit more damage, I think, that was projected. And so people had to be evacuated from that space. We're talking 100,000 year, 1,100 year flood here,
So it was raised up with the garage below it.
Yeah.
So that would flood.
Correct. And the area where that amphitheater is, like that lower area, was also made to be a retention area. Which it was, but again, the biggest flood we've ever had. So
We tested the system.
yeah, right. Yeah, they really gave that planning department a good, what for. But the main thing here, I think, is prompting more like in the short term. So everybody's working hand in hand, trying to get people back into their homes. I read the other day, Serve Noblesville, if any of you are interested in volunteering, they have over 1,300 volunteers right now from across the county. We're helping to coordinate relief efforts and actively go and help people and do things. So that's an amazing organization for participate in. The Hamilton County Community Foundation has established a fund to help people with costs and recovery efforts, if you're at all interested in contributing to that or sharing that out. And so it's been really inspiring to see the community really come together around this. But it's been, I mean, there are some businesses. I mean, it'll be a Hazeldale Bridge won't be rebuilt for 2 years. Fortunately, there's not that many like businesses on that road on that side, but we still have to figure out how to like make it work. Like but we won't know for a while what the long-term stuff is there.
I know this is not your county, but I drove on westbound State Road 32 in the LEAD project, and the scope of that like blew my mind. You
Yeah.
know, if you haven't been by there, it's seriously worth the drive. You just speak on that. The LEAD, can you explain what I'm talking about? It's the data center in Lilly,
Yeah.
like west of Lebanon.
Mhm.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And Jordan said that he has people staying in one of his Airbnbs and the trucks don't stop moving. So there's 3 guys and one of them is always working an 8-hour shift. So tie that into Hamilton County for us.
So the people who work in those places and make them out a lot of money are gonna live here, so thank you for the income tax for the county. The second part is that entire district projected out through its multi-decade growth will not equal the organic job growth that we have within a 3-year period. So it's important to recognize that like Boone County, it's like I always want to say like people are like, oh, like how do you feel about Boone County? And people are like, I love Boone County. I work with their ABC all the time and stuff like that. But from even just a macroeconomics perspective, their entire population by the year 2050 will be smaller than Carmel is today. So we are a drastically bigger place than they are. It's just not, it's like comparing, you know, an apple and a seed. Like it's just not
Because they have Zionsville and that's, I mean, the population of Zionsville, it's exclusive and it's desirable, but they just don't have this.
Correct. Nobody can move to Zionsville. So like that, and even if that changed, you know, that's one place.
Right.
Their amount of land that they have available in Zionsville is nowhere near. I mean, Whitestown is a explosion in the same way that Pendleton is on the other side. But again, when you compare, even if you highlight the rate of growth, or you start saying things like, "Oh, Boone County is going to become the fastest growing county in Indiana," they could grow by 30% a year and still be less than us growing by 4%. So it's just not a. We'll be over 500,000 people before they're larger than Carmel. Yeah. Is that so? It's just it's one of those things I was just like
You have these little nuggets.
because
we
people
don't think about.
because people all the time, like employers are like, oh my god, what am I going to do when that LEAP district gets built? I'm like, I don't know, probably live the same life you do today, like because you don't have to work. Like if it's a local manufacturer, for example, it's like, hey, like listen, like that's not what's going to fight you. What's going to fight you is the 5 other places that are going to open up in the same business park as you are in.
What's Carmel population?
Yeah,
104,000.
Yeah, but there's 100.
Can you talk about what could be happening in 10, 20 years of like 65 corridor, kind of similar to what you're talking about with Lilly, and then also how far north of 31 between Hamilton County and Tipton, and what that's supposed to look like? Their crystal ball.
So I really do think that 65 is going to develop into continue to develop into a major technology corridor, but that's all pending the political viability of growth within regions that are not necessarily amenable to it. Might be a polite way to put it. I would say that some of our own Northern 31 sentiment goes in the same way, except the political sentiment north of the northern part of 31 that resists growth also shuts their eyes to the growth that's already happening with or without them. And so, I mean, like the other day I was with somebody from the Sheridan Town Council, and he's like, the only people to Sheridan are from Sheridan. And like I don't say, and I'm like, yeah, you know, okay. But like, the data says that township has grown by 38% in the last 4 years. Now, that's 38% of a fairly small number, but you're not having 38% babies, like turning 18 every year, moving back home. So it also, I think, I'm always a proponent of like, the market will win. The market always wins. You have to be a community that's capable of working with the market and guiding it where you want it to go. Because naturally speaking, there's always a sentiment that in this county in particular, where farmers will, and certain groups of small groups of farmers will say like, the government needs to stop people, needs to help farmers stay farm. Which is fine. I don't want anybody to stop doing what they want to do. But when somebody shows up with a check, you say, I want to sell. The idea that the government would be like, no, don't sell your land for a giant bag of money. Like, that's communism. Like, that's not how our society functions. This is a free market. If you own something and you want to sell it for what somebody says it's worth, that's your right. And so there will be, I think, a lot more, because it's already happening, almost land banking that occurs within the northern part of the county, where people just all the time just run up to farmers and just see what they're willing to accept, knowing that there's no way they could get a development through today. But even if it takes them 20 years, the land's worth more than it is now. So they're sitting on an appreciating asset that eventually will make it through permanent. The other part is figuring out, how do schools stay competitive? And that a lot of that also is going to depend on the tax formulations that end up becoming. So right now, property tax reform, SEA 1 is just this giant, oh my God, I hate it so much. Let's be, I don't hate property tax reform, but I hate what it's done to my life selfishly. There's a lot of reform that's happened. There will be more in this coming legislative session. And then I hope that we'll leave this legislative budget session with a sense of clarity regarding what the next steps actually are. Because if, for example, if lit income tax is projected to become the major public funding source, more than property tax. Right now it's income tax, property tax. The goal is to shift that and equalize it a little bit more, and then eventually move more towards income tax than property tax. Some places will win really big from that, like Carmel. Other places that don't have that same population base are gonna struggle a lot more. And so we'll have to see, in particular with schools, how that all equals out. And if places need to keep up, like if a school's not growing, it's real, or at least staying flat, if they're declining, it's really hard to keep it good. Really hard to pay good teachers and keep them. It's hard to keep your buildings up to date. And then it becomes hard to attract good residents to the school. And I mean, I'm not saying Sheridan or Hamilton Heights are in that place yet, but they do have struggles competing for talent with the lower four schools. So the referendums this fall will be a really, for all of our districts, are really, really good.
And how we supposed to vote?
Yeah, if you're asking me, yes. I mean, yeah, pennies on the dollar, and you get more than you.
And that's the mechanism that they have to go to the referendum now based on whatever law was changed how many years ago.
Yeah.
That's their mechanism.
Correct. Also, so this is a little bit of a venting session. Not for me, but for society. So Carmel, a few years ago, we passed a referendum. I'm a local Carmel resident. We had a referendum on the books and we voted for it. We said, I as a taxpayer said, this many of my dollars per year are going to go to this thing that I say is worth paying for. As a vote, as a democracy, I said that. We said that collectively, the vast majority of us. Then the government reformed property tax reform, and in doing so said, I'm sorry, Mike, I know you said that, this dollar is going to go to that project, but actually it's only going to be 60 cents because you don't really know what you're voting for. So now they have to pass another referendum to make me vote to get my other 40 cents that I already voted to give. And I told this to a state legislator, so I'm not too shy about it. And I told it to somebody in the governor's office. I think it should be unconstitutional for them to overturn a vote that I voted for on what I voted to do with my own money. I think that's not me being like big, that's like anti-big government. I'm not like some Yahoo up here talking like conspiracies. It's just like, no, like I voted for a thing, and then you go, no. not through the courts or anything else. So I just want to provide some context. Some of them, like Noblesville, I would say is the biggest one. That is the biggest referendum, and it's because theirs was already sunsetting, and then they also had this on top of that. While some other ones are just shoring up what you already voted for. So politically also, Noblesville will be the most contentious, and if that referendum does not pass, it will have extraordinary repercussions on that community in that district.
Are we talking primarily school funding or what?
But yeah, that's all schools. Yeah, it's their ability, they already had to do around the layoffs this year. Their ability to keep and retain good teachers is gonna go down. School safety officers, which was the big reason for the last round of the referendum, was after the shooting. Mental health resources for students, a large number of things that like honestly like are pretty, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound controversial here, but like taking care of kids seems pretty good to me. So like, I think when the rubber meets the road, a lot of people have this assumption that schools and cities need to just make do with what they have. That's the rhetoric I hear a lot. But that also discounts the caps on how property tax formulation goes into costs. So if you have, wow, I'm really rambling here. So all right, so if you have a revenue source that the government says can only grow by a certain percentage per year, regardless of more and more, so 20 more people move to Carmel. And let's say Carmel only has a population of 100 people. You think Carmel's gonna get 20% more tax revenue. No, Carmel's only gonna get 4% more tax revenue. So, because the state caps it. But then Carmel still has to provide utilities and schools and services for that 20% growth. But then what happens when not only do they have to pay for the 20% growth, they also then have to pay, let's say, 30 to 400% inflation in some cases on the cost for those services. So the same elementary school today costs, I think, 3 times more than what it did in 2018.
To run it,
To build it.
build it,
And so fire station, same deal, fire engines, 400% increase in cost. So like, but you think about the fact that like those new residents coming in, like if you bring in that many more residents, you kind of need the new fire engine, so that way they're like, houses don't burn down. But the funding source doesn't keep pace with the cost of the expense.
And did that come from the state down?
Yeah, that's part of the constitutional amendment and a whole bunch of other things and all these,
How long ago was that?
I don't remember.
Is that
2010?
Is
Is that when the property tax was? Is that when the property tax was? Yeah.
Okay.
It was part of that whole process.
Gotcha.
It really, so I would say for most part, most communities, it doesn't really affect them a lot. Growing communities, it affects a ton. And yes, you're bringing in more revenue year over year, so it looks like the county and the city have more money to work with. But also, as you get more people to serve and the cost of serving them per person goes up, and the revenue doesn't go up at a proportionate rate, there's no like more. I mean, it's fine. I know that's a controversial thing to say, but like there is no like bigger bag. There's no like, oh, just make the money work. Like it's like, to be fair, I'm very glad that's not my job. And they do make the money work, but like it's not easy.
Good.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man. Yeah, we can probably edit there. You know, yeah. Whoa. Max analysis. Let's go.
Well, we do appreciate your insight because it is a unique perspective and, you know, you're operating like way up here and we're just like, oh, wow, at least that's for me when I hear all the data and stuff. So we appreciate your time. And I think generally we're bullish on Hamilton County and that's where we all, at least a lot of us, work and live. So we're happy to have your insight.
I would say, just generally speaking, if you guys ever want to have conversations about community data or community indicators, or you have a specific topic that like 4 or 5 of you want to just like really dig into, just like as long as it's on the like I dug out on my calendar in like March. So
I know, that's why I was
so
like,
if you guys, you know, are willing to work at that kind of pace, it doesn't have to be that far out. But like I just want to express that like I'm here to support you. And also it means that I hear from you. It allows me with partners like my board Baggy to build better projects and data with them too. So yeah, thank you guys.
yeah, awesome.
You know,
Oh, no, you have a Zoom and we're gonna do our little announcements section portion. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Wins, any additional wins that we want to share? That was a win for me that we got Mike in, so. Well,
yeah.
yeah, it always is. Okay, so,
Val, do you want to talk about this?
yeah, Val.
So what I know about is obviously gonna be down in my area near Broderville, the Ravenswood, the Emerald, Dr. primary, I mean, mostly spare, but there is a lot of need in the Ravenswood neighborhood. So that's what's on the right-hand side. There's a couple other like monetary donation options on the left-hand side that Kim may know more about. But this is kind of the area we're gonna collect things. I'll take it down today and again on Friday, and then whenever I need to next week, it's basically on my way home. Primarily, I think what people are looking for right now, and this will shift. So this is kind of like a hurricane. After a hurricane, you like have to clean up first. And it's not until you clean up, and that's trash bags and bleach and vinegar and like masks and gloves. That's when you start realizing what you really need. And so we'll have a second round, I think, of organizations asking for things to help these families replace the things that they're picking up the wrong way right now. So, yeah.
My 2 links are, serve, like we talked about, they're the ones that are handling everything with the Hamilton County Sheriff and, have, basically ground zero type situation at the fairgrounds in Hamilton County. You go to their website, you can sign up for blocks of time to help organize everything, like everything you think about. I think they're taking money too, but I'm not 100% sure, but you can follow that link and go to whatever you need there. Also, same thing, if you wanna bring things in, I can take it there. I don't live far from there. Turn Away No Longers in Anderson, they are actually, a home for, like, when children are taken away from their families. But they've turned into actually someone that's giving out donations now to people in need of ever. So they're down that way. I know there's if animals or anything, I know the animal shelter that's doing a lot, so just let me know, but, anything you need or want, just talk to me.
Yeah, I'm also just gonna go to do a huge grocery run, so if it's not in your agenda to be able to do that, just wanna throw me 20 or something, like you can totally make that work, I think that.
One last one, Beer Brewery in Noblesville is having a benefit concert on September 9th. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Awesome.
I just wanna add, we put out there, we have KW Cares, if any of our agents need help and they won't come talk to us and we will reach out to them. It is not a handout, it is our culture in action, so if you know of anybody and they do, call me. I will call them as their mother if I need to, with whatever we need to do, but we need to take care of our own family. We have a separate fund for this. This stuff is extra. This is, we want to get KW Carmel office has money to take care of our own, so please speak up if something.
Well said. All right, thanks everybody for volunteer info. We have this agent feedback of opportunity, so QR code, there's printed ones around, so we always want to get your input so we can provide the content, the programming, and we want to hear what you're thinking. $1 million table, Thursday, August 27th. If you qualify, you should be getting an invite directly to your inbox. So be on the lookout for that. Steve, you want to say anything?
Oh, hey. Yes, hey, everybody. Hey, family. Steve Armadillo. I just wanted to say we've added something that rolled out in July to our products. So all of our products now have deed lock. So deed lock is to protect your deed. It will monitor your deed and notify you if there's any kind of weird activity, and then come in and help facilitate the fix on that if there is that something. So everyone who's had our warranty and renews from July on will have that on their renewal, and any new product going in will have it as well. So it's something that just sets us apart again from our competitors, and we're loving it. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Steve. Yeah. Mark?
All right.
And Brittany.
And Brittany.
And Brittany.
Hi, guys. Mark Kuchek with Cross Country Mortgage. This is Brittany Green, Agent Success Manager for Team Kuchek. Couple things. A lot of you have heard me talk about, we are a portfolio lender. Does anybody know what that means? Being a portfolio lender.
What means that you have your own products?
We have our own products. Yes, exactly. So we make our own rules, essentially, right? So a lot of lenders are not portfolio lenders, and as a result, they have to answer to somebody else, their rules. So I'd like to introduce you to our newest portfolio product. This is for your investor clients. Now they can put as little as 10% down and there's no PMI. Investment properties, yes, thank you, geez.
Yeah.
10% down, no.
Most of your competition is 15% down with PMI, some are even 20% down, we're 10. Okay,
No PMI
no PMI
on an investment.
on an investment property. 2 to 4 units, we can go to 85. Big deal. There a rate bump. Of course, there's a rate bump. Who said that, James? Always the hard questions.
It's
Yes.
gonna be a few bump.
Everything in our industry is related to risk. You offset risk by a little rate bump. But investors, I promise you, most of them look at cash flow, not rate. And if they can keep cash so they have money in their pocket for other investments, a little bump in the rate's not gonna hurt them. All right, the next slide we have monthly with Mark. So we do that once a month. It's tomorrow, 11 a.m. It's 20 minutes. We cover what's up with rates. The Federal Reserve right now, and by the way, it's slow. Do you all agree? It's slow because rates are where rates are. When rates were at 3%, homes were selling. So I promise you, it's all rate driven. A lot of positive things are happening that lead towards maybe rates improving, but there's a lot of things over here that is forcing the Fed to probably, they're really considering having to raise rates. And that's not good. Okay, now we're going to talk about why they're being forced to consider that, but we're also going to talk about what they're going to try to do to eliminate that from happening. Okay, these are relevant things to your business that's directly tied to home sales. Okay, the other thing we talk about is what's happening in the market. So right now, obviously it's slow. Most of you shook your head, yes. A lot of people in real estate, they will just ride it out. It's all they're comfortable doing. That's fine. But for those that want to be proactive and not reactive and want to figure out how can I fight through this, because this is going to be a lot. We're not going to wake up one day and rates are down. We're going to talk about a strategy that's proven. I've done it. I'm actually in process of doing this again for my own personal business, but it's creating a strategy that's going to bring in a stream of referrals from one referral source for you. So you don't have to keep beating the doors down. You're going to establish one or two of these streams that continually bring that. So I'm going to share with you ways to get in, who would you build these with, how are you going to get the opportunities, and then how are you going to service them. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And lastly, winning with condos, September 3rd. Yeah, Ironworks, 10 to 11:30 on September 3rd. We're almost sold out. We will be on a waiting list. A lot of changes to the condo markets and starting August 3rd. I can't look at Nikki without, Nikki and I she had a really, really unique situation with a condo listing and ran into roadblock. I stepped in and it took a while, but we just got literally approval today and it's going to go to closing. That's going to unlock other listings in there. I think you got 3 or 4 others, not you, but other listings. So we have, being a portfolio lender, we can approve condos like this that other lenders have struggled with. Okay, but we're going to cover in this meeting the changes, but also I created a tool that's going to allow you to avoid a lot of the things that you encounter with condos. We're going to create a way for you to get the condo approved before you list it and verify it all before your buyer even makes an offer. Because the worst thing in the world you want to have happen is your buyer makes an offer or your seller gets an offer and 3 weeks in you find out, oh, it's not approved by the lender. So we've got a tool that we created that's going to allow you to be proactive and do all that. It's also going to help you identify what buyers to target. We got a way to create a marketing strategy. And then we've got magic words that you can put in your VLC that will attract the right buyer for your comments. So we're going to cover all that.
So make sure that you scan the QR code. There's also little ones throughout the office that you guys can scan and register.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Lunch sponsor, Old Tough Homes. Thank you for Piata. It was delicious. Always a treat. So yeah.
Thank you. And perfect timing. Mark is actually one of our preferred lenders. So we want to view rate promotion and things like that as Mark, but My name's Kevin. I'm the sales manager for the Althoff Indie Division sales team. I also work out of one of our Westfield communities called Lindley Run, located at 191st and Grassy Branch. This is Catherine.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Atwater. We're at 193rd and Casey Road. Even though our postal service says that we're in Sheridan, we are incorporated by the city of Westfield. We are a Westfield community.
We've got
Thank you. I'm fond of it, but I've
a
been.
lot of you have probably worked with Catherine.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have quite a few other communities around the Indy area. I've got flyers on that table over there, just with some of our current completed availability across our Indy communities. So, like I said, we've got the 2 Westfield communities. We've got 2 Brownsburg communities. One where it's all townhomes, another one where we've got single family and low maintenance standalone ranches. We've got a Greenfield community that's all paired villas, which would be duplexes essentially, all low maintenance. We're wrapping up our Cumberland community. We only have 2 or 3 single family homes left there. And then our newest community is in Plainfield, next to Hop Station, if you know where that's located, where we've got single family townhomes and paired villas over there as well. I'm sure some of you have probably worked at least with one of our reps before, but if you don't know about Althoff, we are a family run company, a family owned builder, 3rd generation run right now. Been in business since 1962. So we've been doing it for a very long time. Headquartered up in St. John, Indiana. We moved to the Indy area about 9 years ago now. Yeah. So we've had communities wrap up in Westfield, Brownsburg, quite a few, Noblesville, so quite a few different areas. And we're, like I said, running a few different promotions and specials right now with Mark. We've got a 1-1 temporary rate buy down where years 1 and 2 are a 3.99% interest rate. Years 3 through 30 are a 4.99. So that's capped at 4.99. Will not go any higher than that. We're also doing a fixed rate right now, FHA. That one's a 5.49. And then we've got a fixed rate conventional as well, which is with a different lender, and that one's at a 5.99. So, obviously rates have gone crazy over the past couple of weeks. We're also offering some options where buyers who are more sensitive to price will have the option to take a rather large price discount on the homes as well. So just depending on what their goals are, buyers that are looking to pay cash are obviously not too worried about the interest rates, so we can help them out and give some large price discounts there. Buyers that are more worried about that monthly payment, even at a slightly higher price point, that lower rates obviously going to help out with that. So we're always very committed to working with brokers. I believe we have an 85% broker cooperation across our Indianapolis communities, and we've always been committed to paying 3%. So our commission structure that we do is 3% across the board, regardless of community product type. We're at 3% across the board right now. And we're going to make it pretty easy for you guys to get involved as well. We've got a registration card that every buyer fills out when they come in. And on that card, it does say where you're referred to Althoff Homes by a realtor. We always will kind of specify, are you working with a realtor in any capacity? If so, they put your name down, and you guys are included from the get-go there. All we ask is that you are present for at least one meeting with the client, or at least some phone calls here and there. But we're going to make it pretty easy for you guys. Kick your feet up, relax. We'll kind of handle the contract on our end. Obviously, if they're with Mark, they're in good hands there. So we're going to make it pretty easy for you guys to get involved.
One thing that Mike did touch on was that the baby boomer generation is obviously looking to downsize, or they're relocating to be near their grandkids. We are definitely a builder that sees that growth and welcomes that growth in my community. For instance, we are 65% low maintenance, and I would probably say of the 65% low maintenance products that I have in my community, 60% of those are of the baby boomer generation. I'd also note that Greenfield, Plainfield, and Brownsburg, those communities also have homes and the low maintenance homes that are definitely geared towards the baby boomer generation. So
yeah, I mean, especially those paired villas for sure.
Yeah.
Extremely popular. Great price point on them. And I've got, like I said, some of the flyers over there that will give you an idea of the price point that we're working. Some of those homes already have kind of those large price discounts that I had talked about. And then some of them do not, and then they would then qualify for low rate promotions. So, obviously if you have questions on any of those, the contact information for the rep for each community is down at the bottom, or some of them on top of those. But you've got contact information for any rep. We do not cross-sell We're a little bit different than most builders in that sense, which we feel allows us to work a little bit better as a team. And then also you don't have to worry about a home being sold out from under your client because a rep from across town having to find a quick buyer. So if you're looking for one specific community, you'll talk to one specific rep. But like I said, I'm the sales manager for the team as well, so I can get you in contact with really anyone.
Yeah, so if my client registers at Atwater and they switch over somewhere else, that registration switches with them.
Yes. Yeah, and I would actually communicate that and say, hey, and there are times where we have buyers who are looking at 3 different communities. Because they just don't know if they want to be, I mean, you have good school systems in Avon, Plainfield, Avon, Brownsburg, and Westfield. And they're just not sure. And so we
So
will
we only have to
share,
register once.
you only have to register once, and we'll share that and make sure that we communicate with you, hey, by the way, your buyer just stopped by, just want to let you know, this was the conversation we had. So we try to not only communicate a lot internally as a team, but also make sure that we're including our realtors just to give you a hey, a heads up, they were in the area on Saturday and they stopped by and here's what they shared, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Okie dokie, I'll make this as quick as I can, but I did write something, so I am reading it. All right, so the person I'm giving Ruby to is a true Enneagram type 2 giver. Those are people whose characteristics focus heavily on expressing love through direct help, gifts, or emotional support. They're highly attuned to unstated needs, often acting as a caretaker or anchor. As many of you know, over the last month, I've lost and buried my dad. My mom fell and broke her hip just days before, and I have closed most properties in the last month that I have ever in my real estate career. In a business where we can often feel like we are on an island, this person was a lifeboat in all of the type 2 giver ways. Through phone calls and texts just to check in, heartfelt and meaningful gifts that actually made me cry, through coverage with mentees and teaching obligations, and offer after offer after offer of covering my business if only I weren't so darn stubborn. And also through sharing funny stories or a moment when all I wanted to do was cry. All I wanted to do was cry. So I'd like to present Ruthie this week to Wendy, who has been a constant beacon of light in perhaps the most challenging personal and professional month of my entire life. So. And if you all want to see the gift, she got a little bracelet for me with a picture of me and my dad that I wear every day and it made me cry. So
Can I take a picture of you guys?
Okay. Yes,
Oh,
let me take these off.
Perfect,
Thank you.
I think that's it.
That's it.
I think so.
I'll just plug, I believe next Thursday is happy hour at Stick and Hack Roderpool. So I would encourage you all to come down and check it out, and we'll have some food, some snacks, and I might even open the bar. So hope to see you for our next happy hour next Thursday, 4 to 6.
And I'm gonna do my best to pull up what we just recorded, the Simon Sinek, like
Yeah.
the end of.
Yeah, you
'Cause
did record it, correct?
I loomed, screenshotted, recorded. That's what Kim was doing in the back. So that's what I'm gonna try to pull up. But you're welcome to grab more food, and I think we're
Thanks
good.
for being flexible today. We had
Yeah.
a lot of content, and hopefully you got some good takeaways. So
We get it back on calendar for next year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
He takes you really big ideas and just gets it down to.
yeah, he's really sharp, and I'm glad he's been able to talk to us. So yeah, we'll do it again.